Absolutely. And but the additional thing I also did is I also did a calculation on the average amount of time I spent on a case and the average amount of time I had a paralegal spending on a case.
That's a good
Um,
analysis.
and then when you do that and you actually put a dollar figure to it, like what does a paralegal cost me after benefits and overhead and everything else that's associated with it? What do I cost? What am I worth? Or what if I have an associate attorney? What are they worth? What is their time worth? And when I started doing that cost benefit analysis, it really started to make sense. Now there is a downside to it. The downside is, in a disability world, at least in the Social Security disability world, we're fee capped. Whereas in a personal injury world, you do occasionally hit some home runs, and when you move away from that home run potential, it does have to change your thinking. You have to change your mindset. Because that is quite frankly is the mindset of many PI attorneys is like, yeah, I'm doing all these soft tissue cases, but just one out of 100 is going to be a home run.
Yeah, I'm going to
One
get
out of
lucky sooner or
1,000.
later. The right case will
Sooner or
always
later, I'll
come
get
through.
lucky.
Sooner or later, I'll get lucky.
Yeah. So I can tell you in 15 years of doing it, I got lucky, really lucky one time. Only once
Yeah.
did I get really lucky. And that actually came from a referral from a Social Security client. Well, the secret sauce, quite frankly, is thinking. You're never going to outwork the problem before you. Okay. You need to outthink the problem before you. And one of the beauties of the DYR, the Double Your Revenue workshop, and I want to make sure I point out to everybody, it's a workshop. It is not a lecture. You work. You will be in there all day working. And the goal is to make you think, to create a vision for a future. If I want to double my revenue, what does that look like? What does my firm look like in 3 years and 4 years and 5 years? So you have to start thinking about that. In my case, in a contingency fee firm, so to double my revenue, there's really only two things I can do on the revenue side, generally speaking, which is either one, get more cases, or two, get more high quality cases, higher value cases. So you think about that. So what does that mean? Okay, so if I have 100 cases now and I want to double my revenue, let's say I want to do it in 3 years. In 3 years, I need to have 200 cases in my inventory. All right, well, what does that look like? How many paralegals do I have to hire? How many intake staff? How many attorneys? What does my admin have to look like when I start adding those people? What does my physical structure have to look like? That was always a roadblock in my head because I own my own building. I'm like, I'm going to outstrip my building. I'm not going to have enough space to hold all these employees. What does that look like? Well, and again, that was sort of, you don't know what you don't know. And it was just kind of, we stumbled into it. When we built this Social Security disability practice, what we would notice is about every 15th, maybe every 20th case, they would come in complaining about my disability insurance carrier cut me off. And then we would look at it and like, oh crap, this is an ERISA claim. And no lawyers want to touch ERISA claims because it's scary. The remedies are limited. Attorney's fees are limited. It sounds complex. There's quite a bit of traps involved from a malpractice standpoint in the way the statute is structured. But just like I did with the Social Security disability, I basically buried myself in a room for 3 or 4 days and read everything I could about it and figured out there actually is a way that you can handle these claims. And they can actually be quite profitable if you set up an appropriate system. So we did the exact same thing. I set up a whole separate section within the firm. And that's all they did were what we call LTD claims, long-term disability insurance claims. But basically, 95% of them are going to be ERISA-based claims. And that's all we did. And we built an expertise. We built a system. I've got one lawyer that's basically all she does. And she knows everything about ERISA that you could ever possibly imagine. And we've just basically created the structure. And again, what we realized, it was sort of a blue ocean out there. There weren't that many lawyers out there that would accept these types of claims. They're all federally based claims. So what we realized is we weren't limited to the state of Texas. We could handle one of these cases in any state or any territory. By last count, we've litigated in these cases in 44 states plus Puerto Rico.